Okay, YVC, English 102, we're going to finish these slides here. We started out with, so you want to write a counter argument, and we're going to go all the way now to how to find a counter argument. So the first step is do some research. Make sure that you've, as you're reading and thinking about your own ideas and defending your own ideas, you're probably going to come across somebody who has the they say, I say formula in their article or in their chapter. Martin Ford certainly does in his UBI chapter. So dig it out of the articles, dig it out of the chapters. Look for where the writer is identifying a counter argument to his own argument or her own argument. The Wikipedia sometimes up in the corner of their box, there it is right there, will list in the index controversies or something like that. We may be able to pull out a counter argument from that as well. And then finally, of course, Google is a great source to look up stuff, especially if you're using the right synonyms like case for or case against, or maybe you want to say something like the pros and cons of artificial intelligence, or the case for a robot-proof education, or the case against universal basic income. So Google using the right synonyms and search terms can be a huge help for ways to find it. The next thing you might do, I'm going to skip that one, is to think about the opposite of what you want to say and just flip it around like a mirror. So instead of saying cats make the best pets, this is because they are clean and independent, you would say cats do not make the best pets, or cats make the worst pets because they are dirty and needy. Rather than clean, I say dirty. Rather than independent, I say needy. And if you have cats, you realize that, there's some truth in both of those statements right there. So I have my thesis statement and my counter argument just by flipping it around. So if you say we can keep up with robots through lifelong learning, the opposite of that is we can't keep up with robots through lifelong learning. And in fact, Martin Ford makes that very argument. So it's possible that by just flipping it around and pretending it's the opposite day, you'll find a counter argument. Next, this one's huge. Talk to somebody about it. Ask questions. A friend or a relative. Oftentimes we get trapped in our own filter bubble, like we talked about already. I know it helps me, for instance, to talk to my son about ideas or to my daughter about ideas. They come at it from a different generation and a different perspective. And my son, especially, whether he agrees or disagrees, he loves to play devil's advocate. So he is always finding ways of making my argument sharper. And I really mean that as a compliment. So explain your position to a friend or to your parents and see if they have anything that they disagree with as part of it. All right, once you've found a counter argument, what do you do with it? One thing is concede. Say, you know what? You make a good point, and I think that needs to be addressed. There's something called a strategic concession. I'll let you kind of pause and look at that if you want to. It's a little bit like this last slide that I'm going to show called accommodate. It means accepting or incorporating some components of an author's argument while rejecting other parts of it. So yes, I agree it's going to be expensive to have universal basic income, but no, I don't agree that we can't afford it. Reject. I love this little sad child there next to the chalkboard. You're just going to completely disagree with what the other side says. So it's possible to have a counter argument that you just say, no, that's wrong. And just show people what the weakness of that other argument is. And then finally, this is the one that I talked about. There's 2 more slides to go. Maybe you want to accommodate another person's point of view. You might find a way to agree with somebody without weakening your own point of view. That's kind of like a strategic concession. So for instance, you might say something like, some say free money is going to promote sloth. I agree. That's why it should gradually go away the more that you earn. So accommodate by conceding to some part of it, but hanging on to your point of view. There's a great saying sometimes I've heard in counseling for addiction where they say, you don't have to be wrong in order for me to be right. Let that sink in. That's wise. All right. Finally, if you have a counter argument that's better than yours, you like their position better, change your mind. And I've had this happen before in class where people start out against universal basic income, and the more they read about it, the more they understand in a period of huge economic unemployment, like the kind we're in now, there's some sense to it and there's ways to pay for it. Or I've had people who love the idea of artificial intelligence, and the more they learn about it, the more it